Morning, good evening, good afternoon. Let's get rid of this window. So thank you for joining me today. Okay. Today is Thursday, August 6th, 2020. And today we're going to talk about head drawing. We're going to continue the series on how to improve your head drawing, how to draw better faces and portraits. In the last video, I talked about shape. So the two-dimensional ideas, particularly head types and head shapes, it's a very important part of my philosophy. It's sort of the beginning of how I look at things, and it's very high on the priorities in terms of getting realism and getting the probably the most important goal of a artist and visual communicator is to get the read, which is a clear recognition of what you're trying to draw or communicate. So thank you for joining me today. If you're watching live, comment below. Let me know where you are located. What time is it for you? I'm currently in Thailand. I'm an American, but I live in Thailand at the moment. It's 9 p.m. for me. And sorry about the reschedule, the restart here. I had some work to do after some time off. I started getting some work and had a few deadlines. So it's always good. I could definitely share more about that later in this video. At the end, we're gonna, if you stay to the end, if you're watching live, we'll have Q&A time, so you can get some feedback and get answers to your burning questions. And if you have some questions about career, freelancing, working in movie posters, entertainment, art, how to make money drawing, that kind of stuff, I'll be happy to help. That's one of the things that I enjoy sharing here on this platform, little YouTube channel we got going here. So today we're going to talk about placing the features, how to line up the features. A lot of people ask me, how to draw the features, how to get more accurate features, how to get a likeness. And a lot of it really comes with first placing the features and making sure that they not only match the person, match the person you're drawing that looks like them, has the right length and height and width, but it also communicates the angle. So that's a whole other discussion, but it's all related. It's all related, and we're going to get into that today. Hopefully I'm not going to take too long. What I'd like to do is just share one or two ideas first, and then do a lot of demonstration. And if you stay to the end, I'll do some, give you guys some homework assignments and some references that you can use if you want to do the homework. And before we begin, I have an announcement. I've opened my next online class. It'll be a head drawing class. It's 4 weeks. Let's pull that up here. 4-week class. Oops. And the class starts August 12th. So there'll be 2 different time zones, one in the morning, one in the evening. I know a lot of students out there are in multiple time zones all over the world. So there's 2 time zones available. And it's going to be 4 weeks long. We're going to meet once a week minimum of 2 hours per class, and after the class you're going to get homework homework assignment, homework critique. You're going to get feedback, so you're going to get a lot of interaction, and it's going to be very intense and really close to like a mentorship experience. I tend to give a lot of homework, give a lot of attention, especially to those who want it the most. You know, that's kind of how that's typically the students I attract are the ones that like to work a lot and get punished and do a lot of homework, just like I do. And we're basically going to cover, this is going to be an 8-week long class, really. So this is the first section. So this is Head Drawing 101, Portrait Drawing 101. We're just going to cover the very foundation of my philosophy. And then we'll also, along with information, also, later talk about practical applications, how to use this for professional work, illustration, portrait commissions, comic books, whatever you want to do with your work long term. I think that's something that I'm always trying to help students and other artists get to in life. So that's going to be a big part of the class. But yeah, you can read more about it at Mastering Head Drawing here. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe to my email list, and you can get the email updates about that, and you also get discounts on courses and classes as well. So you go drawwithchris.com/subscribe, and you can get more information on that. All right, so let's get started here. What are we doing today? And all right. So before we begin to draw the features, let's take a look at what's important. I think the number one thing that I look for, well, first, I'm going to put this in my notes. There's a word called holistic. It's typically refers to health, fitness, nutrition. But the way I approach head drawing and figure drawing is a very holistic approach. I don't just look at things in isolation. I try to use every tool I have, every technique I have to get the end goal, which is realistic heads, faces, and figures. So what I'm going to share here about the features is just one small sample, one idea, but this idea is related to other ideas. For example, we're going to talk about placement, but placement is also related to planes, which is another idea we'll talk about later. Placement is also related to rhythms, and placement is also related to shape and caricature, measurement, proportion. So all of these ideas, important ideas, are all related. And what we're going to talk about here basically is placement, and placement is just a small chunk. So keep that in mind when we're going through this information here. This is just a small piece of a larger body of knowledge, of tools, and information. All right, so really, I look at features. The first thing I try to do, in fact, when I start any head drawing, is I try to find what I call the crosshairs, which is the vertical center and horizontal center. Well, after I find the shape. In the last, well, let me just quickly review. It might be helpful. In the last video, so let's take a look at this. The idea was idea was shape, head type. We want to find the outer edge and the upper edge. So let's take a look at this example here. We want to find the outer edge in the upper and lower limit. So I'm just putting little marks where I think the side of his head is and the top of his head. So once I have these, then I can roughly start to design or create a shape, a two-dimensional shape based on the outer limits, the extremities. That's the fancy English word. So that's what we talked about. And then, you know, to get likeness, you push and pull these points. You push and pull the cheek. You make the chin more narrow. You know, you basically refine. So here is the same thing, except now instead of going the shape, we're going into the internal idea. The internal. That's the next step. So again, a holistic approach. You know, we're going in the internal, but it's kind of built on the idea that you have to establish the shape first, see the shape, know the shape, design the outer shape. So the vertical and horizontal center, I think we might have been familiar. So comment below if this is the first time you've heard this, the idea that there is a vertical and horizontal center. And in terms of proportion, they're actually important, not just for placing features, but proportionally, the vertical and horizontal center splits your face or your cranium into two even parts. Two even parts. So it's really important that we find vertical and horizontal center for many reasons. In a lot of ways, it's the building block of the next logical progression of 2D is the 3D, right? Once we can draw a flat looking thing, once we have the outer shape, if we want it to start to round and model and eventually turn the head, that's what we want to do too. We want to be able to turn the head effectively and still have likeness and realism. We need to find vertical and horizontal centers. So how do we do that? Well, one way to find vertical center is the first thing I look for, I train myself to look for, and I think as human beings, we all look through the eyes. I look for this thing, which is the keystone, which is basically the bone between your, eyeballs. And I'm going to borrow New Masters Academy here. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Oops. Can you guys see this model here? See this thing right here? That's the keystone. This thing right here. Between the eye socket. So, very important thing. That's one thing that I basically trained myself to. I automatically look for that piece of bone. It's so on everybody. In fact, if you're new to this idea, you can go ahead and feel it on yourself. Go ahead and feel your brow bone and that little part in between where your eye, where the bone transitions into the nasal bone, and the brow bone. So that little area is so important. Keystone, and of course we can dissect that down the middle. We can go to the center of the nose. You know, you have a little tip of your nose. We know that that's a thing to look for. We have a thing called the philtrum. Got that little thing. We know, and that splits the lip. So these are all clues. Center of the lip, the chin, center of the chin. And again, you want to make note of direction changes. Notice the chin is somewhat flat here, and it changes direction here. It's somewhat flat here, and it changes subtly this way. So I know that this corner is the flat part of the chin. Therefore, there's the center. And the center of the hairline. Now, most people, it's not that obvious, but one way to measure is to locate the hairline. In this case, the hairline is obvious, but it's not always going to be visible. And just sort of find your approximation where that is. And another way to find it is the skull. Now, in this model here, the skull is hidden behind the hair, but you want to train yourself to be able to see the skull through the hair in your mind's eye. There's a skull, there's a peak, I forgot what it's called. There's a part where bones of your skull are fused together at the crown, right here, and then that is at the exact center of your head and your skull. So I'm always looking for that, even if I don't see it. I'm always using my mind's eye. So you got 3 points right there. And we'll go quickly to the model again. You guys see that little bump right there? See this little bump? That's the bump I'm talking about. You see that right here? See where these bones kind of meet? These are called sutures, where plates of your skull is actually a bunch of plates fused together, and that little peak where they meet, there's a point. That's the exact center of your, it's actually the exact center of your, that's the horizontal center of your head as well. We'll talk about that right now. So it's a very, very useful landmark. So you want to train yourself. And if you're, if you followed me and you've probably taken my lesson on new masters or taken my classes before, I constantly I'm drawing the skull and encouraging students to draw skulls. You want to be able to draw this from memory. So because I can draw it from memory and I know it so well, when I look at a human being, even through the hair, they're wearing a hat, big puffy hair, I can see this in my mind's eye because I can follow it. There's so many rhythms that point to it, so it's very easy for me to find. So once you train yourself, you'll be able to see that. And really, once you have this point, every feature can be really placed when you have that, and you have the second point, which I'll talk about next, the horizontal center. So that's vertical center. That's vertical center. Let's go back here. And once we have that, then we just kind of draw a line through. So there we go. And this is not the best looking line. Oops. So that's vertical center. So now, once I have vertical center, I can build the other, I can build the two-dimensional framework now. So now I need to find horizontal center. And horizontal center is, for me, I I train my eye to look at the eyeballs. So this is, when I first started head drawing or drawing faces, and I think anyone who starts to draw portraits and faces or characters and things, you tend to focus on the shape of the opening. You kind of lose track that it's actually a sphere. So you want to start to train your mind to see a sphere, not the opening, but a sphere. So train your eye to see the eyeball. Really important there. And that's not the best. Okay, so once you have the eyeball, let me zoom in a little bit here. Now, I train my eye to look for the tear duct. Tear duct is obvious on 99% of models. The corner of the eye, the outer corner. So now I'm looking at the opening. They tend to have a corner. See, so now I have a series of dots. Boom, 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 boom. So now I'm in good shape. And the last landmark, and this is probably, in my opinion, is the most important landmark on the face. The most important landmark on the face is this beautiful thing right here, the ear connection. The ear connection. Now, not the ear, not the cartilage ear, but where the ear meets the head, where your ear touches your head. This ear connection at the top. There's two parts where it touches your face. This is the bottom part. We'll talk about that next. And at the top, right, it meets the actual physical ear, attaches to your face, and then it kind of curves upward into the cartilage of the ear. So this landmark is super important. And on this offside, you can't see it, but we're going to, use our mind's eye to kind of connect the dots. And now once I have that, I have bump, 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 bump. And guess what that gives me? That gives me horizontal center. So now I'm really good. I got my upper, my lower, my outer extremity, which is really, in this case, the back of his head. In this case, it's the cheek. So I have my 2D. I got my vertical and horizontal. I'm ready to rock and roll now. I can pretty much, if this is right, if the distances are right, and the things are placed at the right curve, the right rhythm, right? And a rhythm is really a gesture line that relates these points. You're basically relating one part of the ear connection to the other. If you can connect that correctly in the right curve, then you're ready to rock and roll. Same with this. You're basically connecting the skull, top of your skull, to the point of your chin, shoop, right down the middle. So you're ready to rock and roll. But that's, and I'll go through some examples of how to find that, because a lot of times it's hard to see. So it's important to look at demonstrations. Okay. And also, too, the ear is an important landmark. Because the bottom of the ear will eventually give you the bottom of the nose. The top of the ear will give you the brow bone. You see that? And this is the idealized, this is very close to an idealized male, but you see how now we're getting into rhythms. So this is that's a rhythm, and it's so it's all kind of related. So the ear is really important. and this is the bottom of the ear connection, not the earlobe. Sometimes the earlobe will tend to can drop down, so you gotta be careful. All right, so we got vertical and horizontal center. Now the next is, these are our two major measuring lines. Now we got to find our secondary measuring lines. And this is where we get into actual placing of the features, right? So just a quick overview here. And that's why I call them crosshairs, because they look like a target. Oh, let me quickly look at the skull. Oops. Oh, thank you all for the comments there. I'll make sure to get to everybody at the end. The important thing about another way to find the ear, if you can't see the ear, if it's hidden, you can follow the cheekbone. Follow the cheekbone, and this is typically visible in most people. You can follow this line right here. It's called the zygomatic arch. It's a cheekbone, and it leads you right to the ear connection, which is here, not the ear hole. It's right here, right above the ear. And this point, you also lines up with your jaw, so the jaw line will also lead you to the ear connection, the jawbone. This is a bone, so bone is more important than tissue, than flesh, and then, naturally gives you the rhythm up to the crown again. So it's a beautiful, beautiful symmetrical construction. So that's another way to find it, right there. Okay, so that's back to what we were doing here. Oh, and shout out to New Masters Academy. Comment below if you are a New Masters subscriber. If you found me on New Masters, make sure to use their 3D models. I just discovered that recently when they released their Russian head drawing, Russian course by Ilya. It's a wonderful course and very, very in-depth course lesson. Okay, now the other measures we want to find will help us to place the nose, the mouth, the eyebrows, all these other secondary characteristics. So let's look for our first set of vertical measures, and the most important vertical measure to me is the hairline. Oops. The hairline, the brow bone, the bottom of the nose, and the bottom of the chin, excuse me. So this is called the rule of thirds because it divides our face into three relatively even sections. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, rule of thirds. I believe it was Loomis who first kind of popularized that measurement. Andrew Loomis. Okay, so now we're good. And, remember what we said, that these also, if they're not too obvious, follow the ear is one way to get there. Follow the ear if you can't find the nose. Another way to get there. Look for direction changes in the jaw, and in the chin. If you can't find the bottom of the chin, the jaw will lead you to the bone. It's really what we're looking at is here's the bone. Okay, next is the horizontal measures. And for me, the most important horizontal measure starts with, besides the keystone, because the keystone will give me, when I follow the keystone where it meets horizontal center, if I follow this down, it'll give me the top plane of the nasal bone and the nasal structure, the cartilage. That's a very important structure right there, very important top plane. So again, this is a linear idea. Now we're getting into planes. So these are rhythms, but they're also planes. And once I have this keystone, I look for the tear duct. Train your eye to look for the tear duct. It'll lead you to the side of the nostril, the center of the eye. And there's a couple of ways I look for the center of the eye. One is to just, if it's clear, like visible like this, just kind of bisect it in half. Imagine you're drawing a straight line through a sphere. That's one way to do it. If it's not visible, another clue is to follow the brow bone. So now you have the architecture, the structure behind it, the bone behind it, and you cut that in half. You cut that in half, right, these two sides. And that center of the eye will lead you to the side of the mouth, and then the center of the mouth. So you want to look for the corners of the mouth. Then there's lots of rhythms here that can help you find that. But just in this example, you look for the sides of the mouth, the corners of the mouth. And there you go. So that's the first set of measures. There's a lot more ways to locate these points. But I just want to stress how it's knowing what to look for. There's a lot of information to look for. But for me, when I want to draw heads quickly and accurately, I laser focus on these points. Tear duct, sphere, bone, top plane, keystone, corner of the mouth, right? Ear connection top, ear connection bottom, crown, boom, 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 boom. I analyze every face. I'm like a computer. I quickly scan and I train my eye to see. I see only these points really. Well, after I see the shape, once I see the shape, then I automatically go in. I go in and start to plan out where these go. And this is just, it's not like a ABC 1, 2, 3 step by step how to draw thing. Again, for me, head drawing is a holistic idea. These are just tools, really. You can plug in when you're like, oh crap, where's the corner of the mouth relative, how do I, my drawing looks off. Why does my drawing look off? Let me do a measure real quick. Is the corner of the mouth lined up with the eye? Is my keystone too narrow? Is my center axis off? I see this a lot in students drawing, a lot. Is the center axis is off. It should be a perfect 90 degree. These 2 points should meet at a perfect 90 degrees. It should be a perfect right angle. Right angle. And if it's not, then right away. Okay, let me start there. So again, I'm just trying to stress that this is not the end-all solution. It's just a set of tools, and it's a way to think. It's a way to see and to think. I hope that makes sense. And so now, once you have your measures, ready to rock and roll, once you have your measures, now you can I'm just going to try to draw a freehand here. Have my vertical center, have my horizontal center. Now I'm looking. This is hairline. I'm looking at this distance. It's close. It's close, but my eye thinks it's a little off, but it's close enough. Let me move forward. Got that. Find my ear connection. We're good. Now we're going to go for my vertical measures. Brow line. Boop. Boop. So again, quickly scanning distance. From here to here, how am I doing? I'm okay. From here to here, doesn't feel quite right, but I'm close. From center of the mouth to the bottom of the chin. Okay. Okay. Close enough. I can move forward. Next vertical measure. So let's look for. I'm going to use, because this is such an obvious thing. It's right there for the taking. I'm going to use it. Keystone. His keystone is very obvious. So right away I'm looking at my drawing and there's something off. I know just from experience. Comment below if you can see. Already I know I have to push and pull. And that's what I'm trying to get at here, is once you can quickly scan and draw these measures, you want to train yourself with some exercises. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then you know, okay, my keystone is off. How is it off? Is it too narrow? Is it too wide? Is it too high? Is it too low? I know my vertical, my horizontal line is off a little bit. My keystone is off. I could tell the distance from the tear duct to here is not going to be right. I can already tell it's off. See right there? I'm going to move that. So I just know that and then let me quickly, sometimes you need more information. So I'm just going to quickly put down the nose, put down the eyes there. And this is typically not how I would do a quick sketch if this were a life drawing. I'm trying to do a demonstration of the feature ideas here. Okay, let's see. It's a rhythm. Maybe we'll talk about rhythms. I believe this actor is John Krasinski, I believe, from I just saw A Quiet Place like a few months ago. I was like so blown away. Comment below if if you've seen A Quiet Place, the movie. Man, it's really good in my opinion. So anyway, this actor, I don't know him personally, but I've seen a lot of his interviews, and he just seems like a nice, kind of warm, genuine, nice guy. So I consciously curved up his chin. He's not like angular and blocky, like maybe like a Arnold Schwarzenegger. If I were to draw him, or Sylvester Stallone, some more macho kind of guy, I'd probably make him more blocky. But just based on what I've seen in his television interviews and his, he just seems like more of a softer, nicer kind of guy. So I think this goes back to head types. Again, we talked about head types because we all kind of are either rectangles, triangles, or circles, but it's the nuance that makes it interesting, right? The nuance. Is it a curvy rectangle? That's what he is. He's kind of a heart-shapey rectangle, essentially. So now I'm pushing. You see how I'm pushing and pulling. I'm kind of even not even looking at him now. I'm kind of like picturing or feeling, this is getting a bit esoteric or metaphysical here. I'm drawing based on feeling. Now it's a gut instinct I have that, hey, my drawing is too angular. It's not it doesn't communicate what I want. If this were a portrait commission, this is something you have to keep in mind. Is like, is knowing when to round a corner or when to corner a corner. That's up to your interpretation. So right now, this is a feeling. So this is where we detach from the academic, the draw what you see to draw what you know. And I believe it was Mark Westermo. I'll never forget. Mark Westermo is one of the greatest drawing teachers I've ever had. He taught many of the greats in the entertainment, working in entertainment right now. He's known for Riley Method. Comment below if you know of Mark Westermo, or have you seen his new Masters Academy lesson. But anyway, Mark's a legendary illustrator, art teacher, and he said to our class one day, he said, when you're drawing from the model or from reference, don't draw what you see. Use what you see as a starting point to draw from what you know. And that at that time, that kind of like shocked my world. It blew my head up. Whoa, because as when you're first learning, you were like, oh, I want to copy what I see. Copy what I see. I got to copy what I see. I got to copy. But really, it's the once you get past that, once you get past a certain stage, then you start to interject what you know more. Once you get a nice body of knowledge and a visual library. Anyway, that was a big tangent. What was I talking about? Okay, so let's talk about placing the features. So now I got my key measures, right? Now I just need to push and pull. Push and pull, right? Let's take a look. How is my keystone? Keystone looks pretty good. How is my vertical center? It looks okay. Horizontal center. How's the angle? I'm looking at this point and this point. It's okay. It's okay. Corner of the eyes. Okay. So vertical center looks pretty good right now. I do need more information to get it really accurate. How's my tear duct? Should be slightly below horizontal center. Slightly below. So little bit off, but I need some more information. How's the width of my nostril? Okay, he has a long and wide nose. Do you guys see that? See how long and wide his nose is? So for me, I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit. I've already kind of did it. See, I could have went straight academic, straight rule and go straight down, but I knew my instincts made me go wide. Now, how is the length? The length is okay, but I think I'm going to drop his. See, now already it kind of looks like him just based on the nose. This doesn't look like him. His nose is kind of doing this. You guys see that? It's long, a little bit wide at the bottom, for a white male, Anglo-Saxon. I believe I'm not sure what Euro ethnicity he is. Krasinski, I'm guessing Eastern European descent. So you see that bit wide, bit long. Okay, so that's the nuance of culture and ethnicity is a whole other field of study that's really next level. So now, mouth. I feel good about the eyes. I feel good about the nose. Now mouth. Now in my mind, his mouth feels a little bit narrow. So I'm going to push those in, and making his mouth narrow will make his nose feel a little bit wider. So I'm going to push his mouth narrow. So I think corner of the mouth looks okay. Now, height and width. Height. How is it relative to the bottom of the nose? Feels pretty good. How is it relative to the bottom of the chin? Feels pretty good. I want to exaggerate the ball of his chin a little bit. The length, right? He's a long rectangular head type, so I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit. I don't quite see the center of his lip, but there's a divot. You see that little bit of a triangle right there? So that tells me that, boop, the ball of the mouth. This is a form, this is a structure idea. It's a 3D idea, so we won't get into that too much. But just kind of gives me a little point of reference. So already this kind of looks like him, in my opinion. It looks pretty good. You guys see that? Now there's other nuances. I think what else will sell him is the shape of his brow. So let's really focus on the brow. The most important thing for me right now is the width. This from here to here on my drawing feels a little off. I'm not quite sure why. So what I need to do is give myself some information. So from here to here is a little bit off, I think. It's a little bit off. I'm just going to do this. Now it's feeling a little better. I'm going to kind of draw the top lid, because what I really want to do is accurately gauge the shape of his brow. Now his hair follows the brow here, but at top, okay, so it's already working. Already there. So that's pretty close. You guys see that? Pretty close. And the bottom, that's not quite a hard line. I made it a hard line, but once you make the lower lids, you make them too dark, you age the person. I think in this picture he's quite a young man. So that's already feels pretty good. That feels pretty good right there. And then we can just move on from here. I pushed the width of that, slightly exaggerating it, and I think that will add to the character. There's a beautiful curve. You guys see that curve happening? So I'm going to exaggerate that curve. I think that's a really nice part of it almost gives him like a little bit of a worrying look, so I don't want to push it too far. So there we go. And then, I don't want to talk too much about drawing the features. Really, the way I draw features now is very, very, I don't rely on line too much anymore, because line just makes it very confusing. So I think that's pretty good, right? Let me fill in the mouth. I don't want to give him too much of a worry look, so I'm going to raise the corner of his mouth a little bit. And this is why when I first started drawing movie poster concepts professionally, I was able to take off quickly. I was able to work very quickly, and I started to get noticed and get more work. And I was so fast because, well, I was trained by very good illustrators, Mark Westermo, Kevin Chin, Sergio Sanchez, which are all from Mark, really. Both those guys also trained from Mark. But because I had been drawing this way for years and years and years and years and years and years already, when it came time to do this for high pressure job like movie poster job, I was already 90% there. I just had to, just keep refining my ideas, keep refining. I feel pretty confident about this. I know I'm going way over time again. So sorry about that. I gotta cut this short here. I really appreciate you guys watching live. If you just joined me, you probably heard me rant and go on tangents. But if you just joined us, we're talking about how to place features. And I'm just sharing a very simple first set of tools, really. Features to me is important, but it's just a small part of the whole. Head drawing is a complex problem-solving ordeal, complex ordeal, and drawing the features is these simple tools is just one of the building blocks that these tools that we shared today are building blocks that draw features, but also lead to that can be built upon to draw to get the result. Really, is what we want. And at the end of the day is result. We want a certain result, right? With our heads, we want realism. We want accuracy. We want speed. For me, we want speed. So there you go. All right. So thank you for watching live. I know I'll probably got a bunch of questions. I'll get to them, I promise. Let me just quickly go over one of the homework assignments. And make sure to subscribe. I'm going to put these demos and these notes in the these demos and notes in the back end of my website. I have a section where I have a page where I put hidden content that you can. It's like a subscriber page. So I'll put all of this stuff there, all the notes and the handouts and the homework assignments. So go to drawwithchris.com/subscribe, and you can enter your email there, and you'll get instant access to that subscriber page. So let me just quickly go over the homework. So obviously one really useful homework, and this not just come from me, but this came this is coming from Mark as well, is to do tracing. Take a piece of tracing paper. And let me see if I can blow this up here. Ooh, what's going on there? Trying to get the best angle here for the recording. Oh, I see. Something's turned out. There you go. Okay. So take this is my imaginary piece of tracing paper. I would do this on real paper, but for this video, let's see if you can locate. Take a piece of tracing paper and just try to locate. Take a pen or a marker. I would use different colors. It's kind of helpful. Try to locate a vertical and horizontal center. So let's see. And ear connection. So front view. So because in this view, let's go with what the pose gives you. So in this view, we have his keystone is very obvious. Bottom center of the nose is very obvious. He has a bit of a pointy nose. Obvious. Bottom lip obvious. His chin has a bit of a point here. Obvious. Right? Hard to see his crown. Hard to see his hairline. But we can see the hairline a little bit here. So you guys see that? I'm following the hairline. Following the hairline. There's a corner of the hairline. So this, I'm using my mind's eye to calculate the exact middle of this distance. Boom. And his crown, can't really see it, so I'm not going to use it. So vertical center. Oops. Boom. Next, horizontal center. Eye line, tear duct, corner. Ear connection, not too obvious. I'm just going to put it right there. The hairline meets the ear. The jawbone meets the ear. So I'm just going to roughly estimate it's here. And I know because from experience that, what's going on here? I know from experience that this is his head is a cylinder. It's like a Coke can. That's what Kevin Chen calls it, the Coke can. That this line wraps around a cylinder form. Boom. Oops. And this is it's not a comfortable angle for my in the computer here. So I'm just going to have to turn it a little bit. Sorry about that. Boom. Vertical center. So now I'm good. Next, corner of the nose. Oops. Corner of the nose. Obvious. Obvious. Corner of the mouth. Obvious. Obvious. Center of the eye. Boom. Boom. His pupils are looking right at us. Now, sphere, eyeball. Right, the corner of the eye opening, tear duct, corner of the eye opening can help me to draw a sphere. Hairline, already found that. Brow line, obvious. His brow hair is very thin. It's kind of like mine. Very thin. So his hair doesn't obscure the bone. Obvious. Bottom of the nose. It's hidden under the nose structure, but it's obvious. Center of the mouth, obvious. So ready to rock and roll. He has a much more narrow nose, and he also has a narrow lip. Look at how narrow his lip is in this pose anyway. You see that? You see how everything is kind of tapering this way. Boom. Now let's look at the side view. So anyway, that's a homework assignment. Take a piece of trace paper and slap it on some reference of various angles, and I'll probably do a different video on that with real paper. It's much more fun. So let's look at the side view. And 3/4. Didn't get a chance to do that. All right. What do we have to work with here? What's obvious? What do we have to work with? Okay, we want vertical center and horizontal center. Well, this is almost a near perfect side view. So really, horizontal center, we can just kind of follow the curve. Oops. We can follow the curve, the gesture of his face. Right? I'm ignoring the little bumps, right? Ignoring the bumps. We don't want that. We don't want the bumps yet. This is a gestural idea. Now, horizontal center. This is so easy right here. Remember the bread and butter, the most important landmark in the universe, in my opinion, is the ear connection. Ear meets the head right here, corner of the eye. Tear duct, can't see it, but you know it's hidden behind this sphere. The jawbone leads us here. So we know we have enough points right here. Corner. His cheekbone, you guys see that a little bit here? If I take the tracing paper off, you see that? Now it's clear, right? See that? A little bit of shadow right there. See the top plane happening here? That's his cheekbone. And we know about the cheekbone is that, remember the cheekbone gives us the cheekbone, zygomatic bone leads us, boom, to the ear connection, which is the exact horizontal center of your head. And ready to rock and roll. And side of his nose, obvious. Corner of his mouth, obvious. Hairline not obvious, but I can follow his hairline on the side, which is obvious. Can follow that up. And I know, you know just from experience that it'll kind of do something like that. So it's roughly here. Don't really need it to be there. But that's okay. It's a rough estimation that'll help me gauge this distance, and this distance. We want that. So now I have that. I can start to place the features. So this is just let's do a 3/4 here. This is just a tracing exercise. And, if you're more advanced, this is going to be very boring. But if you're new, this is very necessary because it kind of trains your eyes to look for things. Okay, let's look at this. What's obvious? Boom. Tear duct, corner, keystone, brow bone, bottom of the nose, center of the nose, obvious. Philtrum, corner, point of the upper lip, corner of the mouth, center of the mouth, obvious. Ear connection, Jawbone points to the ear, point of the chin. Obvious. You guys see how I found the point of the chin? He has a dimple. It's almost an automatic giveaway. And you see how there's a curve here. Then it, boom, changes direction. You see that curve? Boom, change direction. That's a corner. So that's another thing. I believe I talked about that last time, is to train your mind to look for corners. Hairline, not so obvious, but we can follow it. Toot, 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 toot. There's that corner here. We know that it's going to be roughly here. Who knows? Who knows? But what I need most is the distance, really, not so much the left and right. Because I have enough information to give me left and right. Because I can follow this brow. See, that's bone. This is bone. This is bone. This is bone, where his nasal bone meets. That's my keystone. And I know that because the head is turned, right? The head is turned. So when the head is turned, the keystone will also compress the distance either to the left or to the right. In other words, this distance will get much shorter than that distance. I'm just roughly estimating. And I could also use the plane as a clue. Plane as a clue. If I had the center of the brow line, that would be a very easy clue to drop that in, oops, and then drop in horizontal center. And then just a fun exercise to kind of train your mind to see pictures. And if you have a specific reference, maybe you're doing a portrait commission or an illustration, I would do this before you draw, just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. Do like a little warm-up sketch. So this would be a great warm-up exercise. All right, guys, I'm going to cut out here. Let me get to your questions now. Thank you for joining me. If you're still with us, we just wrapped up a little bit of a demonstration on what to look for to place the features, just really the fundamental horizontal and vertical measurements, measures and rulers that you need. And let me, okay. And make sure to, we'll talk about that next. Okay. Yeah. Let me get to your questions now. Hello, Alexi, Mr. ZZ, Italy. Welcome, Germany. Welcome, Copenhagen. Oh, welcome. Chris, you have a scratched. Tim says you have a scratchy style. Yeah, it's my, in Photoshop, it's a little bit uncomfortable for me. I draw a lot. I have a lot more control on real paper. It's not. I don't do it by choice. But yeah, I do sketch. I do this a lot. The vertical lines for the eyes, are those placed arbitrarily or just placed in the middle of the eye socket? That's a great question. I believe this is Dutch asks, the vertical lines for the eyes, are they placed arbitrarily? That's a great question. That's a great question. Well, let me answer that question. That's a great question. Dutch asks, how do you locate the center of the eye? Well, that's a great question. First, let's look at the bone. Let's get rid of this tracing paper here. Let's look at the bone. So for me, what's most helpful to me is locating the corners, the bone, and bones are very sharp, so they have a lot of corners. So that's a corner. You see that corner, corner. Tear duct is a corner. You see this line, Dutch, or anyone who wants to know how to place the center of the eye. This to me is socket. This is bone meets the opening here. So the actual bone is like this. But I want this because this will give me the sphere. And the sphere, in this case, if their gaze is straight ahead, I can use the pupil, I can use the corner. So I know that these 2 points give me the vertical center of this eyeball. So I know that if I want a 90-degree right angle, it has to come here. That's dividing the ball. That's one way to do it. And another way is to look at the geometric shape. This is my sort of shorthand philosophy. I follow this tear duct, right? Because this gives me the ball, lower lid. This tear duct, this point here, that's the corner of the keystone. This is a corner here. So what I'm looking for, Dutch, is this line. This is bone. This line. I know that's what I'm looking for. Where is the center of that line? The bone. And to help me find the center of that line, I look for the center of the sphere. And the sphere, and this is some perspective drawing, but you can kind of guess in perspective, right? If this was a perfect right angle, this would be here. But as this line turns, right? As you turn it, the center becomes a curve. So I draw that with my mind's eye. Boop, 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 boop. It gives me this point. Boop. This point. Now I know that this line, right? So if I were to take this shape, and draw it in perfect orthographic view, it would look like this, right? Something like that. So I know that's what I want. So I'm just I know that these distances are going to be even, but here I just kind of estimate that distance, make this one a little bit shorter, and then that gives me roughly there, and then I just slice through it. I use a straight. You can use a straight and a curve. Either way is fine. You can draw the sphere, draw the curve, give you the straight. But if you want to do it shorthand, typically once you have vertical center, you'll see this a lot in my drawings. You'll see that, you'll see that, you'll see that, you'll see that, like that. And then I'm ready to rock and roll. Boom, 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 boom. That's a great question. It's perspective drawing. Really, that's the short answer. It's a shorthand of it. I'm not the greatest perspective drawing person in the world. It's not my favorite topic, but I know that as a orthographic view turns, the distances have to change. Oh, great question, Dutch. Tim, could you please share the link for the skull model? I'm trying to follow your class. Oh, Tim, that's from... Tim asked a great question. Share the link from the skull model. It's in this lesson, Ilya Marachnik, how to draw the skull, and it's under 3D models, nma.art. And if you've never heard of nma.art, they have, I believe you can join for free for 7 days. I believe it's a great, you can get a lot done in 7 days. Other than that, it's quite, I believe it's very inexpensive in my opinion, for the amount of resources you get. So how to draw the skull, Ilya Marachnik, 3D models. And forgive me, Ilya, if I mispronounce your name. Joining you from Riyadh. Hello, Omar. Thank you. Frankie from Wheeling, West Virginia. Hello. Here, it's a free skull. There's an open source 3D self-make human, which you could use 3D figure. Oh, great. You don't need to model it. So that's great. That's a great. Davi says, make human 3D software. Hello, Christian. You can export Blender as well. Yeah, export Blender is great. I would love to do more 3D myself. Everyone knows him from The Office. I see Mark in New Masters Academy. He keeps coming on YouTube trending page. I don't know him. I'm pretty sure no one minds you going overtime. Love you did. Private school. I noticed the video library inscriber size missing some video like to skin color. Do you have plans to restore? Oh, Chris says some skin color videos are missing. Are they? I didn't know that. 2-part. I didn't know that. Yeah, I will put that back up there, Chris. Hi, Chris. How to bring likeness in a portrait? Okay, well, part of it is placement. That's a whole... Yeah, that's a great question. That's a whole topic. I mean, really, to me, if you get everything right, likeness falls into place. But one way is correct shape. Short answer, Kiran Kumar, is correct shape, correct height, correct width, correct distance, and correct angle. Specifically, the angle of the brow, angle of the eye, angle of the lips, where the nose is. That gives you, those anchor points really give you reference. Kamparnart. Oh, are you in Bangkok right now? Yes, sir. I live in Bangkok. Edmonton from Brazil. Hello, ciao. Dutch says, thanks, Chris. Just noted from your book they were drawn in before the eyeball. Oh, yeah, I do have a head. I forget sometimes head drawings in that book. Horizontal lines. Oh, horizontal lines. Yeah, tear duct, corner of the eye. That's a no-brainer. And really, Dutch wants to know, horizontal line is tear duct, corner of the eye. But really, the most important is the ear connection. Everything, to me, everything, once you have that, everything falls into place. Tracing over photo is going to start to improve measurement skills. Yeah. Jumar Tar from Mexico asks, is tracing over photo reference good exercise to improve measurement skills? Yes. Yes, in this exercise, because it trains your eyes to look for these anchor points, corner of the eye, tear duct, corner of the ear, hairline. Once you train your eye to see these anchor points, if you do them hundreds and hundreds of times, you'll be able to see them on the model. Of course, you don't always trace. This is just one little exercise to get you going. All right, so thank you all for watching. And if you're watching to the end, I really appreciate it. Here's my Here's a link to my, I got a little Pinterest of, whoops, go back to that board. I'm going to share this board here. Here's a link to my, I have a Pinterest board with hand-picked reference that has a bunch of different angles, so you guys can practice that, do the homework assignment, and I'll probably make another video as well on more of these placement exercises. Really helpful and fun. All right, thank you for staying online. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Draw with Chris. Oops, not that. Oops, where am I here? drawwithchris.com/subscribe, so you get access to some other content. I release subscribers. I'm going to post all these notes there in the back end. And I also have a head drawing class coming up. It's a 4-week class. It's the first 4 weeks of a longer 8-week class. We're going to cover really hardcore fundamentals, what I'm calling my brand new head drawing tech. And also, you'll get a lot of really up to date, really cutting edge information, but you're going to get a lot of guidance, feedback, mentorships, homework assignments, critiques on your work, and I'm also going to help you use these skills to transition into whatever you want to use your skills for, whether it's to work in entertainment, do portrait commissions, draw comics, ways that you can make the most of your drawing skills. So go to gumroad.com/masteringheaddrawing to read more about that. And I will see you guys in the next stream. I believe I'll have a stream in a few days, and we'll talk about more head drawing, portrait, and head drawing topics. So until next time, take care.